Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Integration Quest MuleSoft study group. We've been going at this really well lately. We really do try to do this once a week, and we've been able to. Sometimes we have things that we have to take a break for, like a meetup or whatever, but we haven't had any need for a break lately, so we've been going for it. So here we are again. We're going to have Ryan here with us here in a little bit, and he's going to be presenting on MUnit. So we were talking at the end of last week's study group. Vincent, he was presenting, and we were just communicating and found out that we haven't done MUnit in a while. Let's bring it back. So today is like literally a special request. I tell you all the time that we do special requests, and we'll go into that in a little bit. But here we are. We're doing one. So Ryan's going to be here with it, and actually Diane's going to intro beyond my intro just for a little bit, just to kind of get us caught up on some MUnit stuff and where we've been at it with it before, and we'll just go for it. All right, so thank you all for being here with us today. I'm going to go through a couple of things. Everybody's been doing great with the code of conduct, where they're just doing what mom and dad would have told them to do, so we appreciate that, and we'll just keep that going. This is the library, so check it out. If you don't know these links or don't have these links and you need them, get them, because this is where we put all of our archived videos. So you can come back and you can check this out and leave comments. Somebody just commented on Vincent's video from last week, by the way. I was replying back to them, and they said that it was awesome, and they just appreciated it. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing. Get some feedback. We love hearing back and knowing that this is helping you. So I commented back and said thank you, and hopefully we'll be able to see you at the workshop if we can get that going. So we've got a candidate there for the workshop. Thank you for being here and commenting and sharing back with us what you think about everything. So there's the library. We appreciate you being here. Today we've got Ryan here. He's going to be here in a little bit presenting. And as I'm always saying, all of this expertise and all these certificates, they don't mean anything if he's not willing to share. So he's willing to share. He's going to be here sharing with us today, and we really appreciate that. I should have had a slide up for my mom, Diane, as well, because she's here too. But hey, we're all doing this together. We're all learning together. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so that way she can start sharing her screen, because she's going to just kind of bring us into the MUnit. I can bring this over real quick too. Well, I already stopped sharing. I'll give you that link in the chat. So here's the link in the chat from the last time that we did MUnit, and I'll let you share your screen on what you wanted to share on where you had some experience with MUnit.
All right, sounds good
for everybody.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share that too real quickly. So other locations that you can learn MuleSoft, MUnit, to use MUnit, will be that Ryan did a segment in October of last year on the study group. So you can check that out. One thing about MUnit is it's very vast. There's many different opportunities to leverage MUnit. And so you can start off with just a blank test and you create all of it yourself, or you can do the recorder and it's going to create different the path, whatever you're recording, it'll create tests along that path of that request. And then also now we have Vibes, and Vibes will create MUnit tests for us. So, and again, in all of those situations, we will find that you want to not only, if you're using the recorder or you're using AI to create your MUnit tests, you want to go back and check to make sure it's testing against what you want it to validate. Ryan's going to talk about resilience when he's available. But I did also want to point out to you, not only from previous study groups, but also on the Integration Quest page, there under our courses, we also have a testing MUnit application, or testing Mule applications with MUnit course as well. Ryan did this course, and it's great. It'll take you not just focused on MUnit, but really all kinds of testing, like the different, the testing philosophy, getting your testing plan. And so he goes really deep into that. But I thought I'd entertain you for a little bit. The very first meetup that I did was actually on MUnit. I was called upon last minute to do an MUnit presentation. And so this is kind of funny that I have this available from, let's see, what year was this? Hang on, I can tell you in 1 second. Yeah, here's some of the pictures even from it. 2019. So this was my very first meetup, and in Charlotte, North Carolina. And ta-da! There's Arvind, and Avinash should be here too. There's Avinash. There's myself and my husband. Anyway, very first time I showed up at a MuleSoft meetup is here. And so I dove in, and this is, like I said, now 7 years ago, MUnit, and MUnit still needed. If you have compliance regulations, you've got to have code coverage. That's going to come down on you to have this available. So while we're waiting for Ryan to appear, I'm going to give you my very first MUnit presentation here live. So anyway, what MUnit is, is essentially testing end-to-end, testing your Mule applications. And what it provides for us is that it also has these tests available in your CI/CD pipeline. So interesting story on a project I was on, they had no MUnit at all. And so the goal was, all right, let's get some MUnit, flows created, or MUnit tests created, and the test suites. And so what ended up happening is we got it set up, they were running, we were deploying applications, the tests were passing, yay, everything was good. But what the developers didn't realize, when they went in and changed any of the actual Mule flows, then the MUnit test failed because it was not also updated. So the developers are coming to us saying, hey, the MUnit tests are failing. Can we just remove them? And we're like, no, you also need to update your MUnit tests. So when you run through and create tests, you also need to, or I should say, make modifications to the Mule app. You also need to modify your MUnit tests to make sure they're also accurate before you try to go back and deploy. So with MUnit, there's several different processors. It's very similar in many ways to a regular, there's a different structure to it, but there are, you're going to see similar, processors and that do various things, as you can see on the screen, but also an end result of that test that you'll see the MUnit code coverage report at the end. And this means that the percentage of processors that are covered in the given tests. So this is you can see from the report, there's a test suite, there's individual tests. So you have a lot of, possibilities there. There's two different modules here. There's the MUnit module on the left and the MUnit tools on the right. And forgive me if any of these have been modified or changed since. I think they may be still the same, but this was also 7 years ago. So anyway, some things remain the same. The concepts always remain the same. So with these different operations, you can have testing occur before your test begins. You can set some things after. So you have a lot of ability to, to manage when certain things are done, like before or after a suite, before or after a test. So it's pretty, you have a lot of flexibility here. In the operations themselves, that particular module, this is where you're going to see your assertions, your verifications. You can spy on something, you can mock something, you can force a fail. So there's several different things here that you can leverage for your test. So this is kind of like your toolbox, right? Your toolbox to make your tests. So when we have, create a test, you can create one from scratch. I'm not sure what approach Ryan's going to take. He likes to do the blank test. I always laugh at him, but and I laugh at him because he's like, I like to start from scratch. So I don't know what he's going to do when he presents. I'm not privy to what he planned to do, but this is showing you how you can start a brand new MUnit test. Okay. And what it does essentially is this is your, I want to say, foundation or scaffolding of what you will work with. So in this area here, you have your behavior. You have that you can set before a flow, or before the test begins, an execution of what actually happens, and then the validations. And you're going to see another slide that covers that too. So under the hood, ML is created as well. And so in this case, this is how you can create a test from an actual flow. Like I want to create a MUnit test for this flow here on the left. And so then it actually will flow reference here over into the flow itself. So this MUnit test begins, it flow references over to the actual test, and you can see the XML code beneath here too. All righty. So then also the scopes, I told you there was a slide on this. It kind of goes into this a little further. So the behavior scope is like anything you want to do before the test, that you want to set before the test begins. And so in the case of this particular one, this is the behavior. There he is. This is the behavior. This is a good time for me to halt, Ryan. Let me finish this slide whenever you're ready. Get yourself ready. Okay. So the behavior area of a MUnit test is where, like I said, we want to like mock a field. We want to maybe even spy to see if a value or something has occurred before or after a given processor. And then bottom left is the execution. The execution area is where you can actually have processors here to do something. This is the actual where it runs. Or in this case, it's showing that we're flow referencing over back to our previous Mule applications, that particular flow anyway. So you have options. And then in the validation, this is after the flow runs. This is what happens, and you can do many assertions and various things in regards to all of that. Assert different fields, validate the payload as a certain value, all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that is the scope, Ryan. And this is from my 2000. When did I say it was? This is
2019.
2019.
I remember that.
Wow.
I know. I remember you were getting ready for that, and you were saying, "Well, this is all new. I'm going for it." Like, that's awesome.
I didn't know much about it. Look, this is from that meetup in Charlotte. Very first
Wow, look
one.
at that. Look at that turnout.
Yeah. Yep. It was pretty fun. Here's Avinash here.
There's Arvin.
Arvin. Yeah. And, yep. Fun stuff.
Man, I bet I'd probably recognize more of these folks.
Probably. Yeah.
Looking through.
From Charlotte. There's Bob and I on the left there. Yeah. He looks really familiar. I have seen him before. And this guy here, I think he's still with Salesforce. I don't know.
Are we recording? Because you're putting that on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's all right. You guys are famous now.
If I need to, but I was actually going to say, hey, if you're in this picture, drop it in the comments. We'd love to know.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Who was there?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. So anyway, good timing, Ryan.
It's okay.
Yeah. So this was, I was about to shift into the actual processor. So I did some, initial, let me get this out of the way. Initial intro to MUnit. So welcome, Ryan.
Hi. Let me clear my schedule. There we go. Good. Done. Phone is on silent. Okay. Well, I want to ask RJ to make a link down there to the October session that inspired this session.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And that I got into mocking in particular in that session, and Diane just kind of described. For those who haven't watched that one yet, MUnit has these 3 different ways of encoding a test. And my really intention for this session is to jump up a level. And with today's agentic design, I just finished having breakfast with somebody about this, about the fact that programmers and developers are let me do this one, are going to spend more of our time thinking about large scale design and less of our time thinking about small scale code, I think. Right. And so I wanted this session to be more about designing tests and less about coding tests, if you can imagine the difference. Now I've been maybe have had an unhealthy obsession. Maybe it's a healthy obsession with testing for a couple decades because I wanted to do software right. And part of doing software right is knowing if you did it right, and how do you know if you did it right if you don't check? So tests are a good way for your software to test your software. So automated testing has a long tradition. I heard somebody at a recent AI group tell me that he really loves using his agent to make his tests because everybody hates testing. It's like washing the dishes after work for him. And I did not relate to that. And I want some of you who maybe you feel like that's you, I want you to at least know that there's somebody out there who loves writing software who also loves writing tests. Me. It's possible to like testing. And it's because of what I'm focused on. And the testing allows you to clearly express what your code is for, right? What it's supposed to do. It's magic words. It's expressing the intention of the code, not just the execution of what the computer should do. Like code is like instructions for a computer, right? Well, instructions for what, right? If you thought about like a recipe to make a cherry pie, what tests would you make? How would you test? And don't think about code exactly. Think about like you've got a smart but inexperienced 17-year-old teenager in the kitchen with you, right? And you know how to make a cherry pie, but they're the one making it, not you. And it's even worse. You're not going to be the one to check it and see if they did it right. You've got another teenager who you've got to ask them to check the pie. And I don't know, for Vincent or RJ or Diane, what would you tell a teenager to check about a pie to see if they did it right? In language that the teenager could understand.
Right. A lot of different things. You have to communicate at a level that they're going to get it. I do this all the time, actually. So I like being put on the spot on this one because I'm trying to get my hands off of things and get them doing more because they're at that age. So yeah, like telling them, all right, this is what you need to check on. Make sure that crust is cooked all the way.
Okay, wait.
Cook your bottom crust first.
Let's do that one. How do I know? I'm a 17-year-old teenager.
Right.
If the crust is, because I did this with eggs too. Like, how do I know if it's cooked all the way? It's not going to be black. That's a good sign, right? So we're going to make a test that says crust should not be black. Okay, but that's not enough.
Yeah, nobody likes a black crust. So yeah, you also don't want to have the gooey crust. You want to make sure it's flaky. A good consistency, like when we're rolling it on the counter, you don't want to have it sticking to the counter. It's all leading up to the point of actually seeing it come out of the oven. So
I love that you did the roller on the counter. So a unit test is kind of like you're not done with the pie yet, but you don't have to wait till it comes out of the oven to check some stuff. Right? I can on the counter when I'm rolling it because I don't make pie, but I'm hearing you say it's supposed to do something like it's not supposed to stick or it is supposed to stick or what?
It's not supposed to. So you want to have that dough at this point. It's dough. You want to be able to work with it and not having it stick to your hands, not having it stick to the counter. That lets you know that you followed the recipe exactly and that you have a good dough, that you're off to a good start. You're building a good foundation of where you're at with this. If you have stickiness, then you have to add more flour. If it's too dry and it's crumbly and it's just falling apart and not holding together in that ball, then you don't have enough of, butter or whatever you're using for your oil. So there's a balance.
Yeah. And if you're writing a cookbook, you have to say that in words that are printed on a page. It's not like you can stand next to the person and say, feel this, right? You have to write it down, right? It's a lot harder than just teaching somebody interactively how to make a pie, right?
That's right.
If you want to, so that's the act of testing is that for software with unit testing. So this video is supposed to not just be about the unit test. So now we're back to we're going to do functional test. The pie comes out of the oven, right? That's the functional test. So you start at the beginning and you go to the end, and the pie needs to be, I don't know. It should be actually not even out of the oven. The pie has to be served at the table, so it's going to have to rest, right? So it should be a certain temperature when it gets to the table. And when you cut into it, all the insides shouldn't spill out all over the place, right? So there's tests about the final product, right? And those are the functional tests. I wrote this up in fancy language here. So unit test is about units, and then functional tests are about the whole thing, right? And you're not going to make as many functional tests for your pie or for your integration, right? You're going to make some, and they're going to be big, chunky, like put the strawberries and the flour in at the front, get the pie at the end, and check these 4 things. That's all a functional test is, right? Where the unit test is like the dough ball and like the whatever for the filling, right? There's other kinds of tests that I want to do these study groups on. Performance tests, I'm not going to be able to make a pie metaphor. So maybe I will. Actually, maybe I will, because what I want to focus on today is systems engineering, where there's tests about how the system works in the real world, right? So now it's not just one pie. Now it's a pastry restaurant, and it's all the pies for the whole year and all the different kinds of pie, right? And I'm the owner of the restaurant. And how do I know that a pie comes out within a certain number of minutes when somebody places an order? That's a performance test, right? Or how do I know that it could be capacity planning, right? How do I know that I can produce this many pies with the right size refrigerator, right? So I have enough room for all the filling and all the eggs, and my eggs are fresh. And so performance tests have to do with the operation of the system that produces the pies, and that they work in the size of the computer that you put them in, right? Resilience tests is what I wanted today to be about, which are the ones that go wrong. There are tests for when the electricity goes out at the kitchen, right? And there's tests for when I don't know about pies anymore. We're gonna have to talk about software, right? But Mule's an integration platform, right? So if I'm working with Salesforce, what if somebody changes my security token while the application's running? What if? So now you want to bring out your paranoia. You guys paranoid? I know sometimes we all have phases in life where we're more. I'm not asking about your character traits, but you could have high anxiety times of your life, right? So when you're paranoid, what are all the things that could possibly go wrong, and which ones do we want to design our software to respond to? And it doesn't mean you have to, but Mule's really good at this, right? Where you can add resilience to an end-to-end system, right? Mule's in the middle. I'm going to wing it here and take some time to pull up my old diagrams. Integrations serve a purpose in an enterprise. They are integrations are these wonderful places where we get to write code in between all the other code, which is, if you think about the use of a middleman, why would I want a middleman? Well, I got a few big things in my business. I've got like Salesforce, I've got this accounting system, I've got this inventory system, and they do what they do, right? They're built the way they're built, right? And they don't really know about how each other works, right? So we have a chance to put some software in the middle to deal with basic stuff like the functional tests, like the transformations and the connections and the logins and all the business of getting these computers to talk to each other. But now we have an opportunity. Resilience is a place where we can create an enterprise system that doesn't fall apart when little things go wrong, right? So if this system over here has an upgrade, or this system over here is slow, or this system over here is down for 10 minutes, what's going to happen, right? So what a resilience test does is it allows us to express that type of an outage, right? That sort of thing that we want to deal with in a way that is scientifically, it's precise. So you do what you can create an MUnit test that exactly produces one of the sort of things that could go wrong. So you take that paranoia and you do the work to articulate it clearly. So when I'm saying Salesforce is down, what do I exactly mean? Is that I can't reach it because of a network partition? Is it a DNS failure? Is it a login failure? What is it? Right? So I have to go through the thinking of what exactly is going. It can't be sloppy, right? With a test, it's going to have to be precisely what is broken, right? And then graceful failure is, what do I want my system to do in that case? And I'm going to challenge you not to just, this is a case where no matter what you pick is fine because you're picking something. Maybe it's just going to put an error message in the log, but at least say that that's what it's going to do. It doesn't have, it's not like I'm saying all possible error conditions should have a certain kind of response. Mule can't fix everything, or it can, but it costs a lot of money to make Mule fix everything, right? And time and effort, right? But you can at least, if you're going to say this isn't something we're going to let Mule fix, you can at least say what Mule should do, right? Maybe it should just fire an alert and tell somebody an email or something, right? What do you do when Salesforce goes down? This. And you're saying that's what's graceful about the failure, is you thought ahead and you thought of what the code should do, right? And then sometimes you're going to want Mule to recover from the failure. Something simple like waiting 5 seconds and trying again, right? Or something more serious like flipping a circuit breaker and putting up a warning message saying the system is down for unscheduled maintenance. Or so, you could decide how much or little you want Mule to do when there's an outage, right? And then recording enough information where, because Mule applications are sometimes not just read only, sometimes it's writing data. Well, now you have a problem where you may have data integrity issues. Like during a failure, resilience means thinking through how the system should come back to a good state after the certain kind of failure, right? What is a good state mean? I'm sorry, I can't tell you ahead of time. You're going to have to design what is a good state, right? So I'm thinking the way I'm describing it might sound kind of abstract. And so we're going to do some code together and make it concrete, right? But I'm presenting it this way because I feel like, especially the more we're going to depend on agents to build things, you are going to be responsible for articulating clearly what the requirements are. And testing has been the place where I've been doing that for a couple of decades. It's the place where I have to tell the code precisely what the dough ball should look like exactly, or how I should check if the pie is done, right? Exactly. Like, is there a thermometer I'm going to use to measure the temperature? I don't know how people test if pies are done, but you're going to have to know, right? You're going to have to do the thinking. AI doesn't save you from thinking. It makes you think about different things. You're going to have to think about different parts of the solution than you used to have to think about when you wrote all the code, right? Testing is that kind of thinking. So let's pull up some code. I think I've got it ready. Let me check. I got a project prepared. Yep, there it is. So let's open it up. In Code Builder, I decided I took a command decision, Diane and RJ and Vincent, to try this one in Code Builder without practicing. So we're going to see how it goes.
That's always an adventure.
Yeah. Let's see. IQ classroom. MUnit. Practice management. Here we go. It's a system API. And I think this is one we used in our MUnit class we ran in 2024. Or maybe it was 2023. Source test MUnit. So we already have some tests in here. And so far, I'm not thrilled because it's not giving me all my MuleSoft stuff. Hello. What does this mean? That's better.
Wow, that's weird. I never have noticed that before.
Well, now Mule popped up over here, right? I had to trust the folder. I must not have hit trust before.
Right. Yeah, that pop-up that comes up. So then we know how important that little trust little pop-up window is.
Yeah. And so these are the functional tests for an API. This is a RESTful API we do in our MUnit class. Part of my assignment to you is I give you code and I say, write good tests for this code. We'll see. So far, my happiness with Code Builder is reduced by the speed issue. Okay, there we go. So there's a test there. So Diane pulled up earlier behavior, execution, and validation scopes for a MUnit test. This is what they look like in Code Builder. They're in little columns instead of in boxes like in Anypoint Studio. Now, what I just did is a habit I have from when I did test-driven development in Java. I opened up the test before opening up the code. When there's good MUnit tests, they're more useful for understanding an application than the code is, right? So let's see what this one does. This one, in the execution section, it calls a REST operation, delete /appointment/ID. And the test says delete appointment returns 200 if it's a valid request. So it has a validation that checks the status code is equal to 200, and it's got a behavior section. Oh, it's got like, that looks like a mock to me. And the visual editor of the mock isn't my favorite. Let's see if I do this. Oh, look at that. There's another view. So this one sets them up vertically. I wonder if I can see it here. No. So the MUnit editor doesn't let us view the mock too well. How's this? The HTTP request looks fine. So this is a functional test. And we're going to have to go to XML. Oh, well. So this MUnit test has it's a functional test, and it's saying that we should mock when the DB update processor runs with, well, this is just matching the doc ID or the doc name. I'm not thrilled about that design. But anyway, it's the update DB processor. It should give us back this affected rows 1, generated keys 1, 2, 3. So it's okay, so that appears to be not the right mock because this is a delete operation. But it's mocking an update. I don't like the functional test. Let's go see what the code does. This was, I have to admit, I adapted a student's code for the study guide.
The best part of this is on the fly. That's the best part of a study group.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go see our actual API and the flow list. I don't know which one of these views I like better. They've got the two views now, where the error handler's to the right or the error handler's at the bottom. See? But I'm going to do delete appointment, which has an update statement in it. Oh, okay. This is why it was designed that way. The delete operation on the REST API is not actually doing a database delete. It's gravestoning, tombstoning. We call it tombstoning. It's flagging the row in the database as canceled. So a delete from an API point of view is actually not removing something. It's flagging it as removed, right? So it was that test was right? The test, it mocked an update to say that the row that we pass in is going to actually be updated, right? So that functional test is good. So let's do our paranoia thing. I'm just going to take the functional test that is here. I wonder what she did for error handling. I just want to see. Delete appointment returns 404 if no appointment. Okay, that is a classic functional test. It's testing an error condition, but it's not a resilience test. Okay, so I think we all probably in the room understand what the oh, you can't see. I forgot this. There's no global element list in Code Builder yet, right? So I can't see the global elements. That's too bad. I may be able to ask.
I know that is a pain point for me. Francis, have you worked with that, or Vincent, on how to see the global elements in Anypoint Code Builder?
XML. Sorry, but XML.
XML. You're going to make me cry.
No, this
I've been crying for a while.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's painful.
Did you hear there's a new feature in the Anypoint Code Builder that's coming out, I think, this month? That's supposed to a skill that consolidates all your global config.
Yeah, I did hear that they have a skill for making a global elements. It'll call global -config or something like that. Right? Well, I'm going to try Vibes and ask, what are my global elements? Let's see if Vibes does it. It's not as good as a list, but it might work.
No, you know what you need to do is tell it, can you present it like we see it in Anypoint Studio?
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
Lift and recreate.
Go ahead, Vincent.
I said lift and recreate.
Right, exactly. Well, okay, so we have a DB config that goes to MySQL, right? Vibes told us that. So I hope we have a mental picture here of what this API does. It's a practice, it's an appointment making API. It lists appointments, it creates appointments, it deletes appointments in a, well, we called it practice management system. For a lot of our integration quest classes, we're using this use case of an ambulance bringing patients to a, because we're trying to do B2B integration. So we have ambulance company and they bring patients to a practice. And then there has to be an appointment at the practice. For emergency, the appointment gets made on the fly, but you can also have scheduled appointments. So this is the API for the appointments at the healthcare facility, right? Manage them. And so this is a system API where the appointments are kept in a table in a SQL database, right? So what, here, let me bring this back. What could go wrong? What are the failure modes that we want the integration to help with? What's one thing that could go wrong with an API in front of a database?
No connection, no response.
And why did that happen? Like you guys have been in classes where that doesn't happen, right? You're in a class with a bunch of students and one of them can't get to the database. Why not?
Oh, that's a different issue. But no, that's likely going to be idiosyncratic network behavior or system behavior. They don't have permission.
Let's take it though. Let's take that one because it happens to Cloud Hub. It happens at my clients in Cloud Hub, just like it happens in the classroom to students. So a network issue, but that's still not. We have to. If we're going to express it in an MUnit test, we want to name the exact network issue precisely. So at what point of the connection to the database are we going to simulate a problem? Like, is it getting all the way to login? Let's just use the classroom because we've observed it, right? We got a bunch of MuleSoft teachers in here. What happens to them?
I'm still stuck thinking about did not respond, right? Database did not respond. But if you're looking for that idiosyncratic thing, then the characteristics to look for are, I think you pointed out, did you succeed at authentication? That validates that the service is available. And so if you're headed for a 401, or
we could do authentication failure.
Yep.
But it won't be a 401 from a database, right?
No,
It'll be something else.
No,
we could also do network connection failure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody doesn't have all the firewall rules or something, right?
Java
and so
timeout?
DNS looks up. What was that? What did somebody I heard didn't hear that? What did you say?
And the Java timeout?
Yeah, we could have, so that network connection failure can come in types, right? This one can be timeout, right? It could also be another one, network connection failure, connection refused, right? So those look different, right? One of them happens immediately, one of them takes a while, right? And they're both possible from a firewall point of view. And I have written MUnit tests for all three of these, right? So we don't have to do them now in study group. We could just pick one or two. But this is where we go to the graceful failure thing. If I'm making a system API, right, and I don't do anything about any of these things, when the person calls the system API, actually, if you just look at the code now, what will this thing do? If let's pick one. Let's pick the timeout because you said timeout, right? We'll do that one. What will this thing do if there's a timeout connecting to the database? Will it time out for the user or will it do something else? One way I do this, guys, is I don't guess. You want to not guess? Let's pick. Guess. Let's just change the code. I do this sometimes for real. I do that. We will make the code use a completely preposterous database server that doesn't exist in the real world. How about that? Right? I need source main resources. We're going to go to the config.yaml. I actually think that might be down because this is a very old class. So let's see. We're going to try ping that. Okay, that's a different problem. That's DNS failure. So that one's not going to work. How about I can do google.com. Google.com will definitely not allow me to connect to it as a database, right? You guys agree? Probably not going to work.
Yeah.
So we can run the app and see what it does, right? I think I can just hit the run without debugging. That's what I was doing in my. Oh, are they kidding? Oh, I'm going to have to fix it. Vibes. This is a good one for vibes, right? Make this run on the most recent runtime installed in ACB. I love it when you can give little junior programmer tasks to the AI. Is it doing it? Why does it want to access Apple Music? No. What? Did you guys see that? Get out of here.
What is that? Unless something else got triggered.
No, I think it's
you have 3 free months.
Home directory.
You gotta take
Don't allow.
Yeah.
How do I stop it?
It needs some working music, maybe.
Stop.
Oh yeah, it's vibes. Yeah, maybe it wants to play the Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys.
How do I kill a command? On my other agent, I can kill a command.
You should be able to cancel.
Okay, it did stop. All right.
Yeah.
Do not search my home directory for anything.
Right?
The better part about this is
that should be in your profile.
Isn't there? Okay, so I'm going to go to download Mule runtime command. There's 4.11.2. So now I can tell it stop everything and just update the app to use Mule 4.11.2. Did it work? Cancel. I have to type it again. So I've been using other AI tools that aren't as finicky as Vibes, but I'm not trying to bash Vibes. I'm trying to use it as intended and get the value out of it. and it is good. I like it. So let's try that.
we can always ask Ella. Ella's with RJ now, so you can always ask her. She'll know.
Look, it's doing it. I'm happy.
Yay!
See, it changed it. It did. It changed it to 4.11.2. It went to the POM. It went to the mule artifact.json. That's exactly what I would have done. It changed the Java version, and I didn't even ask it to. It just did.
That's
there you go.
Nice.
That was good.
Pretty impressive.
And so now run without debugging. Come on. Drum roll. We're going to run a database API trying to connect to a MySQL database at google.com, which sounds foolish, right? Why am I doing it? Anybody pick up? Why am I making it talk to Google? What will we learn by doing that? Oh. We learned that my database connector doesn't support Java 17, which is not what I meant to learn. Has nothing to do with Google.
But we did learn something.
Always something.
To a compatible version. But this is what we did. I did a science fair in 9th grade with a soybean geneticist of all things, and went through the process of actually real research science with him just for my little science fair. And there were so many stupid little things where the soybeans got wet and we had to throw them away, or you know what I mean? And I'm like, is this what science is? And he said, absolutely. Like, you learn a bunch of little things before you learn the big thing. You know what I mean? And I really do think that unit testing in software is very akin to experimental science. You have to create a hypothesis, you have to encode it in a clear experiment, you have to execute the experiment, see what the results are. So I didn't mean to be experimenting on Vibes and Anypoint Code Builder, but that's fine. It's just the wet soybeans. That's all.
This is good. RJ, in the description, be sure to say used Vibes to update the runtime, the database connector, Java. This is all pretty valuable.
I'm liking seeing this. I know. This is good.
It's looking up in the documentation right now for me which version of the database connector is going to work with Java 17. I should have just said the latest, because it's trying to do what I asked it. It's not trying to do what's the wise thing to do, which is just take the latest one. It's like, well, you said the one for Java 17, so I'm going to go look at the release notes.
It's like an overachiever.
I like overachievers.
I do too. But...
All right. Yes. Update that.
I hate to say it, but I'll have to drop it one, by the way, but
yeah.
This is awesome.
All right. We're going to run it again. Start new. So it's killing the old session. We're going to eventually get to a resilience test. We might have to keep doing more of these.
It's all good when we get repeat. We need to do it again. We got that far. Let's keep going. The data relay is turning into that to some degree. Fun stuff. What I did share while that's running, Ryan, I did share how you like to start with the empty tests.
Oh, yeah.
I did mention too the course that we have that you did as well, the MUnit course. And it's like with this kind of focus, but in great detail, which is what we need.
Well, test-driven development is it's a practice that's it's not programming language dependent. It's a way of expressing what you want your code to do before you write your code. And it does change the way you think about software design. So doing it as a practice has to be done with an empty test, because you don't want what you already wrote to pollute what your test says. The test should say what you want the code to do from scratch. and I'm not saying it's like a moral thing. I'm saying you end up with different code if you do it that way.
Yeah. Because I mentioned the recorder and then I mentioned AI, but you can't even, I do not, and I know you're going to chime in on this. I don't recommend to just go with that because you think it's going to cover all your bases. You really need to go back in or either start from scratch or go back in and deeply edit what the recorder captures or even AI.
The recorder is really good for a certain type of testing practice that I didn't present, that this book is about, working effectively with legacy code. What it means by legacy code, like the way he says it, the way he writes it in the book, is code that doesn't have tests. I think that's not quite how I would say it, though. My way of understanding what the value is of this book is it's about code that you don't understand, right? So a lot of times I have to work with somebody else's software that they made, or software I made 10 years ago, or some. I don't really understand it, right? And the more we work with agents, the more we're going to be working with code that we don't understand. How can you possibly work effectively with code like that? Well, you can start with finding a part you do understand and proving that you understand that by writing a test for that, right? And the MUnit recorder is excellent at, let's say you have an API and you get Postman and you run it and you see what it does now. Now, I'm not even sure that's what it's supposed to do, but I see that's what it does do. So I don't want to break this, right? I ran this one little API call. I'm about to make a bunch of changes and I don't want this little piece to break while I'm making my changes, right? So I'm going to make a test with the MUnit recorder to make sure that this thing keeps working like this. So everything else I do can't break that, right? That's a very handy use of the MUnit recorder. It's a very different thing than when you're trying to express what you want the new thing to be, right? So if I'm going to make a resilience test for this API to give a sensible error code when I get a timeout trying to connect to my database, what it's going to do now is an internal server error 500 with no useful information in the response, right? So my user, my API client, is going to not have any idea what happened. It broke, right? Out of order, crack, broken, right? Maybe I want to give them a better error message, or maybe I want to give them a 503 server unavailable instead of a 500. I'm going to think about, what do I want this thing to do, right? When I have a network connection failure, I get to say what my API is going to do. I don't just get to find out what it does by itself, right? I want to say what it does. That's where I want to blank test. Okay, so I'm going to make it have a network connection failure, and I'm going to say what I want the code to do in my unit test, and then I'm going to run it, and it's obviously not going to do that because I just made it up out of my brain, right? It's very unlikely that the code's accidentally already going to work just like I thought of, right? So then I'm going to have to go make the code work different so it does what I said, right? So I'm starting with expressing what I want, and then I'm going to change the code until it is what I want. And then what I leave behind is both. I have the code that does what I want, and I have the test that says what I want. And then I give the whole project to RJ, and he can run the test, and he's finding out if the code does what I wanted in my test that I put in there, right? And then he can add his own tests and send the code back to me. And when I'm working on it, then I can make sure the code does what RJ wanted because all of his tests are listed there, like in the code, and I can just run them, right? So the tests turn into a body of specifications that we are sharing that says what we both want the code to do. And it's not just two people on most of our projects, right? How many of you have a lot of people on your projects? So you probably want all of us to be contributing to a shared specification for what the application is going to do, right? Pause, Diane. If you want to text Victoria, somebody's ringing the doorbell, and I hope it's not her. Right? I don't know. Is Diane still on?
She had to drop, but I don't
You got
have,
that?
I don't have Victoria on any text messages.
Just
I have
text
her on
Diane.
Slack.
Text
Yeah,
Diane. I hope I don't leave somebody sitting in a parking lot. But
Okay.
so we're gonna do this network connection failure one, and we're gonna express. Now, sometimes I'll run it to see what it does as a means to see what I want it to do, right? Now I installed something here. We're gonna try. I haven't done this a lot either. Postman has a VS Code. Well, there's two ways that Postman has a VS Code extension, which I could use that and try to call the API with that. Also, Vibes can do it. So I don't know whether I'm going to use Postman or Vibes. Let's use Postman and see what that does. Right. So back to code. Sure. So now here's my Postman extension. And we are going to make a new. Do I have a new request? Okay, we're making a new request. There we go. Right here in VS Code, right? Isn't that neat? And we are going to, I broke the database. So why don't we list appointments, right? Why don't we do a list appointments call? And if I go into my API, can I see my API? I have to go down to project dependencies because I used RAML. Where is it? Where's my RAML? How do you get to the RAML in here? Do you have to just read? I wish I could get to the RAML. I don't know if you guys use VS Code enough. I want to view my RAML. I might have to actually import the project to the workspace, which I'm not going to do right now. So I'll do it the long way around. We're going to go to the flow list appointments. Actually, I want to go to main. Let's go to, where's main? Is it here? Practice, management, API. I don't see a main flow. I see two different ones of these, but no main flow. I wonder if this project is healthy. Like, how do I call it? What is all this? So Mule started up. And here's my deployed. It's got too many copies. I'm not going to be able to test it, am I? Well, I'm going to be able to do it myself then. So whenever I asked my agent to create a copy of my student's project, it didn't copy over the API itself. So we're going to add one. Actually, we're going to let Vibes do that too. Why not? So give me an HTTP interface to list appointments so I can test this. It looks like API kit is missing, which I'm annoyed about. But anyway, it wasn't Vibes that did it. I'll tell you that. It was a different agent that has apparently failed. Okay, it says API.xml already has them. Where's my main flow then? Yeah, I know it's missing. It's thinking. There's already a listener. Forget patients/ID/appointments. All right, so let's try that. Localhost 881/patients/4. Whoop, what happened? I let Vibes go and it's taking over my editor, is what it's doing. Show opened editors. I want that one. It keeps changing editors on me. I'll have to let Vibes finish what it's doing. Oh, well, I'll be patient. Okay. It just has a get/appointments for testing. Okay, good. I'll copy that. I'll save everything. Save that. Save that. There we go. And what did I get? Operation timed out. I think we're on the right track, folks, right? I definitely got my operation timed out. Could not attain connection for data source to google.com. Why is Google not answering my database query? And I imagine you can predict that why Google is not, because Google is not running MySQL, right? Obviously. Great. So now I have simulated my error. Let's see what happens in the. So I get a 404 not found, which is not what I expected. Let's see what's happening here. If I hit send again, do I get another one? Or is that an application startup problem? Interesting. Application deployment will continue. But I get a 404. I think I'm getting a 404 because I'm testing it wrong. Let's check this. This listener says /patient/ID/appointments. I just think Vibes gave me the wrong path. So I want to actually see it fail properly. I don't want a 404. Why am I getting a 404? I'm not even seeing in my log. I think it looks to me like the application's not. It says started app. Close this over here. Yeah, I know I've got that error, but what happened with my. Yeah, I know we can't get the connection. And the last time it couldn't get the connection was at 11:56:06. That's 5 minutes ago. So that is not. I'm going to restart the application and see what happens. I don't think it was running my updates. And we're going to watch and see if it actually does start up an HTTP listener and all that stuff.
Ryan, can you see where to clear that console once you've seen what you want? Is there a clear
I don't.
control?
Oh, right there.
Yeah, there it is. Thank you.
It just says starting bean, and of course the bean is not going to start because it can't get to the database. So I may have to turn off the connectivity test. Oh, 8081 is already in use, it says.
Oh.
What is using 8081? I bet you I know. Oh my gosh. I had a project up on Anypoint Studio.
Oops.
Only Mule people. Only Mule people. So it was not the fault of the database connection. But I do know that I want to turn off the blocking connectivity test for startup because I want to see this go faster. So I'll do that. Turn off. Well, I'm just going to do this one by hand. I'm not going to ask the.
You might be faster.
Yeah. Let's see. API global. Good. XML. DB config, and it's on the MySQL connection, right? No, it's not. It's on the entire config. There should be a reconnection strategy, right? In straight XML, no. I think it's like reconnect on the config. Where does the reconnection strategy go? It doesn't autocomplete for me. I might, just because I don't remember the syntax, I might have to use this. So add a reconnection strategy that is not blocking. Add a forever reconnection strategy not blocking to the DB config. That's a very specific instruction. Hopefully it remembers the syntax better than I do. Oh, it's on the connection. That's why. I was trying to put it on the config. See that? There's my change. That's what I should have. That's what I didn't have in my brain. Why is it? It's telling me it's an error, though. Okay. The correct configuration is fails deployment equals false. That looks better. I kind of like how I edited it live and it still didn't mess it up. Right? It was able to fix my edit live. That was kind of cool. All right. And then I got to restart the server. There we go. There are two of them. There we go. I kind of feel bad. It's already been an hour and we haven't got to the MUnit part. This is supposed to be MUnit resilience. We're just doing resilience.
You know what I like to pop in and say?
I know.
It just means part two. I mean, whenever you're available, I'm not, I don't like to get people when they're busy. She is okay.
Have you got some openings this summer? I mean, this is fun. But I mean,
next week, do.
Okay.
It won't be next week, but there's plenty of openings. But yeah, she's good in the parking lot. I don't know if I came through on that.
Okay, thanks.
No worries.
And stopping bean could not start HTTP listener, but didn't I stop the project? I did. What is listening on 8081? Probably something, right? Let's see. Okay, something is certainly listening. I'm going to quit and see if anything is still listening. Okay, good. So quitting all the way out of ACB did get that one done. I had like a spare mule running that I didn't know where it was. So now we should be able to run again without debugging. What? Maybe I need to let it finish firing up. Maybe I rushed it. Yeah, see, it's still starting extensions. What happened here? Extension might have failed to activate. Oh. Yeah, some of these extensions are still starting. Oh, I guess the one I need hasn't. I mean, Studio isn't an instant startup, so I'm going to keep giving ACB a try, guys. I'm going to keep trying to make it my thing. What was that? Mule Enterprise Edition is already running. Is that so? Where?
JPS.
What is JPS?
It's part of the Java distribution. It's like PS, but it only shows you Java processes. You run that from your terminal. The one that doesn't have any identifier, 4932, that's Anypoint Studio. And
Let's see those. There's
yeah,
two
those
Mule
each one of
containers.
those, yeah, two mule runtimes. So that's it. One. Oh, you know what? Studio has the tooling service. One of those is tooling service for Studio. Did you kill Studio completely?
No, but I killed the process running in it. I'll kill it now, but it's unlikely to be running Mule invisibly. I think ACB.
I've orphaned the tooling service before. Had to just go kill it from the terminal.
I'm gonna kill 61164. Boom, dead.
Yeah, exactly. Now what do you got? Now what is it? Should be only like JPS and a
Agent server
that
launcher. Yeah, I'm gonna run this now. Oh, look at this up here. What is that running? Stop.
Hey. Oh.
Okay, run without debugging. Maven runs and that looks better.
Something new happened.
I want my HTTP listener to run. Looks like that is starting successfully. It hasn't acquired a port yet. And it's waiting for the database configuration, which is going to time out because Google is still not running a MySQL. Did you guys submit a support ticket to Google to start running MySQL?
Yeah, I got a connection refused when I sent mine in.
Wonder why I'm getting a timeout then. Okay, we are up. We are up. And I don't think I have my Postman up anymore, so we'll try that again. New HTTP request. There, that one. Why is it timing out? I bet you this is legitimately trying to open up a connection. I bet you this is what we were looking for. This looks promising. Because why is it taking so long? I don't know if I have any logging in there, which would be nice to know. So list appointments. No, it doesn't do a log. It does. See what I mean? It goes straight to the DB select statement with no log. So I didn't get to see that it started.
If this doesn't go, it may have to. We may have to call it though, because
Look at
now
that.
she is
408
Hey,
408
Yeah.
request timeout. We got it. So that's the error we're going to start with. I guess if RJ's giving me the cane pulling me off the
I've got
stage.
it's not me doing it. I promise. I'd let you go all day. I've got a new message. I'll tell you when we're done recording. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I think what we've done is we've kind of set the stage for what a resilience test is and how to get the Mule to tell you exactly what your error looks like. What we could do in the next one is make MUnit do this and then design what Mule's going to do in response. So I will yield to RJ's advice about the session.
Hey, it's all good. No, you'll understand. You'll understand. Everything's awesome. Yeah, so that was awesome. Thank you for coming and sharing that. So as I said, sounds like there's a part 2. Sounds like we'll move on into it, and we have open dates in the future. We'll get together on that. But for today, that was great, and I'm going to get this out on YouTube. And everybody, you just share with us in the comments what you think about it, and look forward to the next one. As far as next ones are concerned, this on screen is what we're doing next week. It's part 5 of 6 of this data relay. And I told you all it's turned into 6 parts now. It's just keep growing. We're going to get Allie back in 2 weeks after next week, and she's going to integrate Slack with MuleSoft. So it's just awesome. Growing and growing. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to having Angela back. I've been communicating with her over on Slack. She's building this out, and she's doing a tremendous job on it. I'm looking forward to seeing this. So that's it for today. Thank you, Ryan, for coming and presenting and sharing with us what you shared. And I'm looking forward to the next go around. I'm going to stop recording. All right.